Every year we try to make something different and to push the technology a bit further. This year is no exception. I hope you will love it. So let's get started. Ivan, please take the stage.
Our booth is packed with cutting-edge virtual production technology that's being used on a daily basis by world's leading broadcasters like Paramount, Disney, MTV, FOX, many others all around the world. Main three tools that I want to point out are the following. First is the RedSpy, which is the most popular and most precise camera tracking system you can get nowadays. The second product we'll be showcasing is our Follower system, which is a motion capture system that's unique because it offers world-class camera tracking as well. So it's one system that encapsulates multiple functionalities. And what's going to be connecting all of this together is StypeLand, which is our plugin for Unreal Engine 5, featuring the world's finest Chroma gear. Now let's see where these tools actually are on our set. So this camera here is tracked by this black cylinder. This is our RedSpy system. It has infrared lights, emits them towards the ceiling. And you can see up there the small dots are reflective markers, which are reflecting the light back down. And we are getting all that we need to track this camera really nicely, which you will see later. Let's continue to the other camera. This one is tracked using a different approach. It's using witness cameras that you can see glowing in blue to observe all the movements of these 8 LEDs. We call this the spider module. Besides these LEDs, we are also tracking the pan, so you can see that it's reacting to the moves, and as well as some other gadgets that we'll be showing throughout this demo. You can also see we have 2 virtual production zones over here. This part here we call the XR zone. That's short for extended reality, and it usually means virtual production involving LED volumes. It's getting more and more popular in recent years. Over here is the VR zone, which has a longer history, but it's still popular and it has some of its own advantages. Why is virtual production growing so steadily in recent years? It has some advantages over traditional production. Sometimes the original investment is a bit higher, but once your team gets used to it, it's more flexible, it's often faster, and it's cheaper long term. For example, if you're shooting a sunset scene in traditional production, you have to go and catch that perfect lighting for 15-20 minutes. If you miss it, you have to come back tomorrow and hope it's not going to rain. But with, for example, with XR, you can have perfect lighting for 24 hours if you want and just keep shooting until you get the right shot. So those are some of the advantages. And now we're going to walk you through some of the showcase scenarios. We have elections, sports, gaming, then we'll proceed with the XR. Let's jump right into the first one, election show featuring Christian.
Okay, so for any of you that have watched an election before, you know that they're filled with a lot of graphics. And what I want to show today is just a small sample of how stYpe can make that production more enriched and that content more engaging. So for example, here we have our 2 candidates, and perhaps we'd begin our election by speaking about both of them and giving some general information to our audience. Then, perhaps I want to single out one of the candidates, perhaps discuss some of their policies, discuss some of their strategies, or whatever I'd like to do. The point of this is that I can do it naturally and in a way that allows me to engage with either the graphics or the set itself. So we'll look at one more example of this. So again, as I move around the stage, you'll see me as I walk over here, I trigger a set of animations with these bar graphs. Then I walk over here, and we see these other ones pop up. And this is all being done and based on my position in the set in 3D space. So this is a really nice way of how we can interact with our set and our graphics in a way that feels natural. Well, what else could we do? So here behind me, you can see we have our typical election pie chart. And with a simple motion, I can move this graphic forward into focus. We can continue our election coverage. We can go around the states, we can decide to trigger events, all with the press of a button. So now we have full control. So we can move to an area and trigger an animation, or we can control animations and graphics physically with our hands. So let's load up our map of the states and we'll show one more example of this. So as you can see, stYpe really allows you to bring your set to life and just show things from different perspective. And this is all being achieved with our follower tracking system. Now this tablet is tracked with 4 beacons. My position is being tracked with the beacon. And the pen, again tracked, allows me to move objects around and trigger events. So let's push this map to the floor. So whatever your production is, whether it's elections, whether it's esports, sports, drama, stYpe gives you these tools to keep things really, really interesting. What we'll do, we'll take it up a notch, make it a little more demanding for our tracking system, and we'll go handheld. So as you can see, the set behaves in a natural way, and the graphics all behave naturally, all tracked, even if this camera acts a little wild. So it's no problem for the tracking. And this is all thanks to our Emmy award-winning camera tracking system known as RedSpy. So to unpack this a little more, we're going to go back to our reel set, and Ivan will walk us through some of this technology.
In the beginning of the presentation, I said some pretty strong words, like RedSpy is the most precise camera tracker you can get nowadays, anywhere in the world. And this is why we are confident to say so. We use this graphic of an inverted cone, usually during our calibration procedures in the client studios, because this is like the ultimate test. You line up a pointy object, a pointy real object, with a pointy virtual object. If those 2 points stay aligned, that means the camera tracking is doing a perfect job. Because first of all, you will not have such wild moves in your real show because it's not good for the viewers to see. It's too chaotic. And second of all, most of the graphics aren't really so, pointy. So if we can handle this, then we can surely handle all the camera moves in a normal shoot and the graphics that I usually used. Let's turn the tracking off for a second. Now, as you can see, and as you would expect, the graphic has no way to know where it should be, it just stays fixed on a screen. But when we turn the tracking back on, it just snaps back into place, and the real world and the virtual world are connected and perfectly glued. We've been doing this for 12 years now, and we can do this in small studios like this. We can do this in huge arenas up to 40 meters of height, 140 feet. Indoors, outdoors, in sunlight, it's not a problem. Camera tracking is what we do and what we are good at. That's our RedSpy. On this other camera, we have a couple of interesting functionalities. First, I want to mention this crane. This crane is equipped with our automatic aiming functionality. So if my colleague steps away from the camera, right now we have locked the target to the Emmy Award, and I just push the arm. The Emmy Award stays framed nicely. We can record 10 different positions, and you just need to swing the arm, so it's a semi-automatic functionality. And it's not like a super modern fancy crane that you have to buy. It's actually an add-on for cranes. So even if you have a 30-year-old Stanton Jimmy Jib crane, you can just purchase an add-on, and it will suddenly become this semi-automatic crane with functionality for virtual production. Okay, more about the tracking. If you look at the ceiling, you can see these witness cameras glowing in blue. This is our follower system. And the camera here is equipped with the Spider add-on, which has 8 beacons. And these beacons are detected by the witness cameras. Besides those beacons, I also am holding one in my hand. Christian showed the tablet, and we have some more gadgets. So let's go into another virtual set and show more the functionality of our follower motion capture. Now you see an indicator, X, Y, and Z coordinates in real time. And look at this. I can't shake it off. I could throw it if you're good at catching. Yeah, it just stays there. And let's load another graphic. So I'm drawing a line in 3D space. And these numbers that you see are the height of the beacon in the moment in time where it was printed. And we have programmed it so when I click the button, I'm just deleting the line. So let's show a cooler example of this. Now we are combining camera tracking with object tracking. And also notice now when I walk forward, I actually occluded the line behind me, but this one is still visible. So how are we doing that? Let's load another indicator. you can see that something is in my pocket. This is our person tracker. It's our smallest trackable, part of the Follower system. Works through the clothes, unless it's really thick fabric. You can put it under your shirt or in the pocket. And now our systems know exactly where I am, and they also know where the pen was. So this drawing was done in real time, in 3D space, and by tracking my position, we can interact with virtual elements as if they were real. The illusion stays convincing. It used to be, like in the past, it would always overlay on top of you, which would limit your movements. You would have to always make sure that you are behind, otherwise you would destroy the illusion. Christian, can you join me back? And Anna, if you are free. Let's make this more entertaining. Actually, yeah. This is for Christian, for Anna. Now Christian is holding a palette. Christian is holding a painting palette, which we are also tracking with Follower. And the pen, he's using it as a brush. So we have programmed the functionality of color picking. So if he can choose the color with the pen and draw different colors. And we're also going to take the camera off and make this shot super entertaining. Now we get some red color. And now since Anna is being tracked, the line can go around her. And the beacons that are tracking the palette are pretty much invisible to your eye because we have integrated them in this wooden palette. The opening is very, very small. Again, the line is drawn in 3D, so it's very interesting to show this perspective. It's a creative jungle. We try to come up with some examples for you to understand the technology, but hopefully now you understand that it has so much potential for creative use. It's up to you to come up with ideas and captivate your audience. And now we will switch to another set and proceed with the sports segment. Back in the Matrix, and now in the sports set. So same technology, same physical studio, different virtual environment. Now you can notice when I walk near a player, the graphics get bigger. So this could be one way to add a tool to tell your story. So I can maybe put an emphasis on this player, or maybe this guy is the key one, or maybe they have two important players that often link up very well. So this could be the line that the opposition needs to stop if they want to win the game. Okay, but what about the software behind this? We have explained a couple of the hardware elements. What about the software? These are very nice graphics, very nice animations. So Tony, can you join me in the set? Tony is one of our developers.
Thank you, Ivan. Hi, everyone. So Ivan's been talking about the hardware perspective of this. I'll be talking about the software perspective. Our main software product is called StypeLand. StypeLand is an Unreal Engine plugin, and it works with vanilla Unreal, so you can plug it in right away. You don't need a custom build. It has a few components to it. One of them you'll be seeing later on the XR stage, which is basically rendering graphics for LED panels. The other part is the tracking system and feeding all the data to everything. And the third part we're going to be talking about here today in this demo is called Green Killer. Green Killer is our completely software Chroma keying solution. So there's no hardware that's doing the keying job. The idea is we do 3D scans of the lighting and the green and the geometry. And with that, we can pinpoint exactly what we need to key out. So let's take it out for a little test. As you may know, if you're in keying, one of the hardest things is hair, especially this kind of hair. That's why they get me here in Las Vegas to show you my keyed out hair. As you can see, it does a pretty good job. And another challenge is always the transparent bottle of water, which we can see handles itself great. What can we do that's more interesting when we have a 3D scan of this environment? The idea is, if we scan the environment, we know what needs to be replaced. And for instance, if you look at my shadows, on your right side, you'll see the shadows that are in real life. And as you can see, the shadows in the key are practically the same. These are totally natural shadows. Everything else is keyed out. If you look at this shadow, this has been here when we scanned. So only new shadows will be introduced into the system. This is part of the scene. Okay, so how does the actual scan look like? Basically, it takes just a few seconds for a studio of this size. You need to set up the scene with all the things you need in it, and we'll show it right here, right now. I'll just step out to not contaminate the geometry and the lighting. And when you hit scan, basically starts and simply finds every part of the plane that it needs to key out. And we'll see in a few seconds when the orange turns to blue. This is done with this camera and the engine in the background. And the scan is done. And we're ready for our production. What can we do with this scan now? The basic idea is you can now save this scan, save this setting, save the geometry and the light combination of this studio. The idea is you can do other lighting, other geometries, and save them too. What if we had 2 or more different scans and interchange them in real life? Well, that's what we're going to be showing now. So we scanned this environment, the same environment, but with totally different lighting. As you can see, the lights are changing from red to white. And the key, as you can see, is staying completely in place. All the shadows, everything, the imagery is all in place. And this is something you can do with any type of environment and props and lighting and stuff like that. But another interesting and really great feature we would like to show you is something we call virtual move and virtual offset. The idea is if you have this kind of stage, it's not that big, but you still have the beautiful designs of, let's say, this kind of drone shot. As you can see, I'm still here in the same physical place, just totally with a different move. You can move the camera around to show your beautiful studio that someone made, and you don't have to stay in the same place. You don't even have to be in the scene. These were virtual cameras. What if we did this with physical cameras? Well, with the help of my friend Christian here at the camera, we'll try the following. He will go from point A to point B with normal perspective. So this is where I am. This would be the shot if I was on a show or something. It will be a simple move, simple dolly with a few camera moves. Now go back to point A, and now we will offset my position virtually. Let's go. Okay, so now Christian will make the same exact move, but in real life. As you can see, the perspective is calculated and everything is in place. I'm still there, but I'm in totally bigger studio, totally better perspective for this kind of shot. And it all works perfectly. We have here something that has a wide range of motion and that can do amazing shots also. Let's switch to the crane camera. So with offsetting and a crane camera, as you can see, you can get absolutely amazing shots. Okay, so that would be the virtual offset and the virtual move feature. Let's then see how some of this technology is used on a real production. So this is a demo. This is kind of easy. But imagine a championship in esports and live broadcast using the technology.
Hey everybody, I'm Kyle, the CBO of WePlay Esports. We use a lot of stYpe technology for our events where both in our studio in Los Angeles and in venues around the world, we make large-scale live events, specifically within esports and gaming. And we're going to show you one of our creations from a year or so ago from our Emmy-nominated Dota 2 championship, the Anti Major. So there we are. The background and the set you see behind me is inspired by the game, Dota 2 and its map itself. There's a giant river running through it, so we themed it a bit, and our designers and graphic artists made something that you can see. And it functions similar to a physical set. You can zoom in, check out lighted windows at dusk, and me standing right in the center of it. So something else that we really like to do in gaming, we like to have methods of demonstrating them in a real set, like you see right here. This is Phoenix, one of our favorite Firebirds, and out of the 124 to choose from, there's a whole spectrum of different types of creatures, some humanoid, some not. Can work, set up a photo booth, cosplay competition, see how you compare to Jakira, our two-headed dragon. It's kind of up to you. And then if we load up our esport engine, I can show you one of the tools we use for an analytical perspective. This is made based off of the Dota 2 minimap. Traditionally, you'd only see this in the very bottom left of your screen. So this is a cool way to give our audience something that they really haven't seen before, because even if you have 20,000 hours of Dota, you wouldn't have seen a map like this because we made it and we put it right here in front of me on the screen. If you want, we can maybe try something new. You can go handheld and you can see it from like a top down. I can also use certain analytical tools, add some color to this. So as an example, at like 35, 36 minutes, there's a pretty critical moment where both teams sort of split up. You see those domes? They kind of represent the vision that both teams have. Red team, red dome, green team, green dome. So they tend to play in those areas. We can kind of see them progress. And just a cool way to add some color and give our audience a perspective they wouldn't have seen before. And again, as you can see, it functions much like we're in a real set as he's moving the camera all around. And then one other thing I can show you right over here on the left. This is done using an AR set extension combined with a virtual window. So even though I'm just in this small space, I can look to my left. I see this massive wall of information. In this case, perhaps I'm highlighting Arteezy and giving him an MVP for his performance in this game too. The same way you use a person tracker, these little dots that Ivan had in his pocket, we can do the same with virtual objects. So I actually take Viper for a spin, controlling him solely with this little button in my hand. Could latch it to my shoulder and have my own dragon. It's kind of up to you, however you'd like to use it. So that concludes the gaming and esport aspect of this. And I think Stipe is going to take it away over on the XR set.
I'm standing now in an LED volume. This is what we call an XR environment. As opposed to green screen, StypeLand supports both workflows, green screen workflow, for which we are using our Chroma Key Green Killer, which won the Product of the Year award yesterday. And we also support XR workflow. So what is special about XR workflow? Well, for example, XR is very good when you have shiny objects. For example, sunglasses. You can see the reflections of the environment on the sunglasses. Or if you're shooting a car commercial, you bring in a car, and on a car windshield you can see city lights passing by. What is so special about our XR workflow based on StypeLand? Well, the advantage of our workflow is a great color matching. For example, if we for the moment turn off our color calibrations, you will see what I'm talking about. You see that now the floor looks completely different than the walls. And this is a common problem and the reason why in not many productions the floors are used. And also, when we have walls mounted on 90-degree angles, this is also something that is usually avoided because people don't have this kind of magical software that we have. Let's turn it on again. You see, it's all seamless now. For these reasons, Fox Sports in LA is using now exactly this same setup in their studio, and they have the same camera tracker that we are using here, Spira, which is based on a follower. Another problem that you have, like this set is rather small, but we extend it to, so it looks bigger. If I try to walk out, you will see that I start disappearing. What we are doing is we are adding another layer of a video, which is foreground layer, that overlays over the camera image. Our software also handles the color calibration to make the set extension look exactly the same as the LED walls. On top of that, there is no tearing of the graphics. Usually, whenever you saw a setup like this, when the camera moves. Let's go up and down a bit quicker with the camera. You see that everything stays glued together. This is very, very hard. And I invite you, when you see a setup like this, to try to move the camera. Not only pan and tilt, but movements. So now a small recap of what technologies we needed to make this happen. I would like to say thank you to Absent for providing this LED wall to us. It was Prosig who provided their exceptional green screen, which we used to make this demo. We are also using switches and routers from Blackmagic, cameras from Grass Valley and Canon. Canon also supplied their exceptional lenses, Sena lights to illuminate our booth. Lastly, I want to say special thanks to Myrees, who were gracious enough to allow us to use their stunning 3D scenes, which we used to demo our green screen workflow. And also to Vplay for providing their scenes for esports, and they also provided this scene where I'm sitting right now. That was it for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the presentation.